features are part of autonomous driving. In order to give you a more visualized experience, this is the first time we cover the demonstration process of experiencing autonomous driving. And you can see it's a big crowd here, and there are a lot of autonomous driving fans who are very interested in these tests of autonomous driving. This is just like to give a test of the smart brain of the machine of this autonomous car. And whether we can see the function of autonomous driving is good or not. It requires some of the expert teams to provide their specialty and expertise. And today we will be able to look closely at all of these autonomous driving technology. In order to give you a more insightful understanding of the whole demonstration process, here we have invited Mr. Zhang Qiang from the China Automotive Engineer Research Institute to introduce autonomous driving to us. And if our audience have any questions, please do not hesitate to leave your questions in our comment session. Now we are looking at what kind of test is it? You can see that the car parked in front of us, and what kind of car is that? This is a static car model which can mimic the actual automotive. If there are some obstacles behind it, it should be able to recognize it. And you can see there is another simulative model, but that looked more real. And there is another difference in terms of the chassis, because there are some control model on the chassis that you can track the motion dynamics, and you can also control the input and output, and also control the brake. Therefore, it can mimic a very real driving scenario. And also, if you look at the red car, during the ACC process, it can autonomously switch lanes and to see whether the test car can respond correctly. You see, now all of the cars are controlled by ACC system. Now this red car has recognized an obstacle in front of it, so it stopped automatically. Why do we need to have an in and out scenario here? This is also one of the heavily discussed topic. The autonomous driving technology or the lane systems in China is one of the most complex or complicated ones around the world, because a lot of car systems is not applied in China because China's traffic system is too complicated. So when we research the ACC system, we need to consider the scenarios of the car usage in China's transportation system. And this is a really difficult scenario. Is it a very difficult research topic? Yes. ACC is already with using ACC system to recognize obstacles statically is a very difficult topic. And for the consumers, they would expect the ACC system to recognize the obstacles in 20 meters away in front of their car. Now the car is moving. What's the next test? This is the cutting test. For example, in some high-speed motorways, car-tame feature can be used a lot. Now we want to know the streamline of the red car and to see how responsive is this red car. Now this red car is driving normally, and then the white car is going to cut in from another lane, and we need to see whether the red car can recognize or detect the white car cutting in. If the red car is not able to recognize it, then the white car is going to crash over the red car. Now let's wait and see whether the red car is able to give some response. Mr. Zhang also mentioned that in our past times experience or test, this kind of experiment required human driver. However, with our current black technology, this kind of experiment can be conducted by autonomous driving technology. Now you can see the car is waiting there. It is on hold and is ready to go. I'm really thrilled to see the result. What's the speed of this car? 50 kilometers per hour, and for the red car, and the white car would drive at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Because it requires precision in the experiment, so we are going to conduct the experiment several times. Is there any person inside the red car? Yes. Because this red car is still at L2 level. It means that the car can control the steering wheel by itself and also can push up the oil itself. However, it also requires some human inside it to detect or monitor the road condition. From my understanding, I'll just give you an example. So, for example, the students need to pass in CET 4, CET 6, and CET 8. So, what level is it? So, currently, I think we are in L5 to L0, and L0 is the most basic one. L1 is the auto braking system, and it can only control one of the features. However, if you go upward, you can also, apart from controlling the brake and stop and go, it can also control more features. And R3 means that the driver is no longer needed. However, one human being is still required to stay inside the car to monitor the road condition. And then L4 means that the car can autonomously drive itself. L5 is actually the real autonomous driving. Now we see the car is almost ready and it's about to set out. I hope that our audience, if you have any questions or doubts, please do not hesitate to leave your question in our comment section. With the white car cut in and stop here at this point, is it all engineered or designed previously? Beforehand, yes. And the system is called autopilot. It means that the car can control itself vertically, and the driver or one human being stay inside is only to monitor the road condition. Is there any higher level of technology for us to see whether this car is controlled by itself or by human? We have a camera on the road, and also for the rest of the car, you can also see whether the driver is performing good or not. This is our monitoring screen. Wait a second. This is what's going on inside. I see there are a lot of signals, and so our camera will give a all-round or 330-degree of monitor of the car. Yes, because in order to ensure the just and the professionalism of the whole experiment, we will have a full round of monitoring. We can see from the monitoring screen. One of the perspective is in the driver's seat, and the other one is from outside. The next experiment is to demonstrate whether the autonomous braking system from these white car is working well. Now we are going to prepare a fake human model here, and this is to mimic a human being walking on top of the pedestrian lane, and we will need to see how the white car is going to respond when it detects someone is walking on the lane. I'm really curious of the other car we just experimented. Can we go and see? Now follow me. We are going to go to that red car and to see the equipment inside. You can see the equipment are quite complicated. We have a steering wheel robot and then a push-up robot. And also on the back row, there are some geolocational robot here. And also it can track all of the data or record from this experiment. Mr. Zhang also introduced that during this experiment or this demonstration, actually all of these equipment are already in the market, and all of these car models are already in the market. And we need to have this high-tech equipment to conduct some tests of these models to see how smart are these autonomous driving technology. This is the original steering wheel, and this is the steering wheel robot. And then there is a motor here. And the motor is going to control the steering wheel. And then since this is an EV, so the pedal is an EV pedal. Your colleague sit inside. I noticed that there is a colleague sitting inside, so that colleague doesn't control this car at all. No, that colleague is only acts as an assurance or the person to monitor the total process. So we would still require a person sitting inside to watch out the road condition. Yes, and he can also control some of the computer systems and also monitor the car driving speed. So the colleague is acted as an experimenter. Since this is a very precise process, it requires a very precise control. So robot driving is better than human driving. Now let's go back to the other experiment. They're going to mimic a scenario where a bicycle and also a human being is both on the road. Now we are looking at autonomous driving demonstration from China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. Now we're looking at one of the staff installing the motor bicycle. And then, I'm not sure whether you can notice that or not, but there is a car with double flash going on, and that car is going to drive forward and mimic the scenario where it's going to almost hit this bicycle. Ladies and gentlemen, you are currently looking at the experiment of autonomous driving from China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. What kind of technology we are going to use, what kind of experiment tool we're going to use to test the autonomous driving technology of these cars. And actually, this is the first time this kind of demonstration is open to the public. So the demonstration has attracted a lot of crowd, and they are really interested in how well the autonomous driving is doing now. And autonomous driving is more and more close to our daily life. It is no longer some scenario within the sci-fi movie. How good is our autonomous driving technology now? That really required a third-party test and evaluation. And then this expert team is going to give us a professional suggestions or advice. I believe they are ready. Let's see how this white car is going to respond. I'd also like to ask Mr. Zhang, why do we need to spend so much effort in designing or setting up these scenarios? Yes, we need to test different functions or features. Currently, this feature is about what kind of safety action can be taken to avoid crash or avoid colliding with the obstacles in front of the car. Because when driving on the road, there are vehicles, bicycles, and also pedestrians. How can the car detect what is in front of the car? That requires a lot of technology. So we need to mimic different obstacles or different type of obstacles on the street. Also, this autonomous auto braking system function cannot be experimented in our actual or the real road, so we can only test it in this experiment demonstration. Sometimes it might be doing quite well during the experiment in this mimic scenario. However, in the real case, it might not perform as well as in this experiment. And we also need to test or record all of the data, for example, the crash rate, the collide rate, etc. Only when everything has passed the baseline can we launch the model into the market. Now the audience is going forward to see the demonstration of the auto braking feature of that white car. Is there any difference in the interior structure in the red car, in the white car compared with the red car? The demonstration is almost over, but we can still look at the white car to see its auto braking function when it detects a bicycle in front of it. This is the white car where we used to mimic the cut-in function. What's the structure inside? There are some foams and some of panels, and also it have some features to go to receive signals from the radar, and we use it a lot in our experiment. Then we will record all of the data of this experiment. This decoy will cost you more than several hundred thousand RMB. Then I can just go buy a authentic car. No. If I use authentic car, then when the car crashed, I would have to go repair the car, and also it can harm the driver inside of the car. I cannot imagine this kind of decoy car can cost several hundred thousand RMB, because this is just made of foam, and then there is a plastic texture on top of it covering this car. All of the sensors in the autonomous car will have a reflection feature. This car looks very normal. However, the technologies inside it is really impressive. What is the rationale of this auto braking feature? Actually, we have two of these models. One is here and the other one is over there. You see that there are a lot of citizens who are interested in autonomous driving technology. And this is a sincerely rare opportunity for audience to look closely at the autonomous driving experiment. We will put that white car on top of this plate. And there are a lot of panels of here. And beneath this panel, there are some batteries. It's very heavy. We have to unscrew this panel. Okay, beneath this panel, there are several batteries, and then here lies the motor. This is just like a simple version of EV. So this is the battery. How can this vehicle move then? There is a control software, and then there are actually some wheels beneath this panel, but it looks all very flat. Yes, this is kind of like a flat version of sedan. And there will also be some equipment on top of it to receive signals. And it can undertake driving missions based on our requirement. Yes, and the max speed of these decoy can reach 80 to 100. So we can also conduct some motorway experiment by this vehicle. But if you continuously using it for a long time, the wheels might get deficient. And when the deficiency goes, when the wheels of this vehicle wear off too much, then we will replace them. It looks like just like a laptop or a pad. However, it can really play an important role. Now let's look at this white car, or we can check out this white car later. The white car is the car that we just saw, where they used for auto braking system experiment. The interior is almost the same as the red car, however, there are some differences. There are also auto-driving robots inside it. However, this robot is different. The manufacturer of this robot is different from the robot manufacturer of the red car. And then this is the motor, and on top of it there is a robot controlling the steering wheel. And also there is a pad over there. If I were an engineer or a researcher, I can control the system from that pad, yes. And then there is a controller on the back row, and also a battery, a motor, a portable motor. So how do we switch the motor, switch the gear? These are all controlled by the controller. And then there is a power supply. And for the red box we're looking at, this is a navigation system with a really high precision. And the precision is around 2 centimeters. Whether we can drive precisely or not, it all depends on that red box. When I drive myself, and usually I will use a mobile phone navigation system, and I'm already very satisfied with the mobile phone navigation. How is that? The precision of mobile navigation system is around 5 to 6 meters. However, this one is 2 to 3 centimeters. And in the future, more and more precise navigation system is required, because when you drive on the road, if the geolocation of one destination should be here, and then the navigation system showed you the geolocation of your destination is over there, then there will be some faults. This navigation system is really big, and that also cost several hundred thousand RMB. I'm sure the future navigation system will have the same precision level but cost less, which is affordable for the general public. Yeah, I understand. If I were to purchase an autonomous driving car and the navigation system will also be as expensive as the car, then I won't be able to afford that. Yes, I agree. Currently, all of the equipment you just saw, we aim to make them smaller so that all of the general public can be able to afford it and have a good experience with autonomous driving. This is the interface you just saw. There are actually 7 to 8 cameras on the vehicle. For example, some of the cameras is for us to monitor the handling of the car. This is really high-tech vehicle. If we look at it at first sight, we can see it's already very impressive, and there are a lot of complicated equipment inside it. The experiment session is almost over. Yes, thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that you will continue paying attention to the technology and experiments from China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Now we are going to the next stop. Let's see the monitoring system from the engineer perspective. Because the monitoring system is displayed in a laptop, however, there is a more important feature of that, and there are more functions we can see from that monitoring system. How good is that? Let's go and see. It is really difficult for me to imagine that this kind of decoy vehicle can cost several hundred thousand RMB. And you can see there are a lot of citizens coming here. They are really interested in the technology behind autonomous driving. Now we are going to our next stop. Now everything is all set. And dear audience, currently we are looking at the first experiment demonstration of autonomous driving conducted by China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. This is the first time for them to make this experiment demonstration open to the public and has attracted a lot of citizens here. This gadget we're looking at look like just like a pad. However, there are a lot of features that's very practical. It can be put on our decoy vehicle and support the vehicle to drive on the street, and also it can send all kind of a control signal of that vehicle. A lot of people are here watching this experiment. People are really interested in this black technology. Now we have just shown you how the engineer is going to conduct its experiment on these autonomous driving features. Now we are going to get inside the car, and then we're going to the next stop, because currently we are only looking at the crowd or the on-site experiment. However, the data analysis is conducted in another location, and we are about to visit there. We are going to the monitoring center. Dear audience, you are looking at the experiment demonstration center of China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. This is a really large area, and you can see a lot of experiments conducted here. Just now, we just saw the autonomous driving cars and also the experiment on these cars. There are a lot of high-tech equipment and features. What really impressed me is the mobile pad. I call it mobile pad. Actually, this is not a pad. There are actually wheels beneath the panel, and there are batteries, motors, and some high-tech features equipped on it. Now we are within the campus, and we are going to an even more important location, because when we observe the experiment, we should not only look at the experiment itself, we should always analyze the data behind these experiments. And the monitoring system's data is gathered in a laptop. However, there is a monitoring center where we are about to go. Later, we will also provide an opportunity for the citizens within the campus for them to have a tour on the autonomous driving car. During this process, I also welcome our audience in front of the TV or in front of your devices to do not hesitate to raise your questions in our comment section. In the experiment site, actually all of the experiment, actually we can see all of the experiment we saw in the experiment site here from the monitoring center. Actually, the experiment here are more diversified. People's understanding of autonomous driving might still be at the stage of ACC or auto braking system. However, our research level is far beyond. There are 6 levels in total, from level 0 to level 5. However, most of the autonomous driving technologies we saw in the market are still within level 0. This is the monitoring center. You can see there is a big screen, and it's showing some of the images we saw from the experiment site. It's very complicated. In order to better explain the monitoring center, we specially invited the head of the research center of automotive connected car from China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. What kind of functions about this monitoring center that is not shown in the experiment site? When we look at this screen, there is a big screen on top of it, and that is a recording from the competition in this August. You see there are a lot of gunshot videos behind it. And if you connect all of these clips, then we will have a full video from point A to point B. During the experiment of autonomous driving, there are definitely some issues that cannot be avoided or predicted. And you can see on the right side, this monitoring center will gather all of the data from the experiment conducted by our research institute. There are 2 features. We will determine whether this is A feature or B feature, and then gather all of the features in the experiment. Also, the road condition or road type in the experiment. And also, we will have a speed distribution, weather distribution, and the data of different type. We will also record the time of this experiment. For example, the report time when we noticed the issue and what kind of scenario will trigger some risk. Okay, let me further clarify. On the top right side of the screen, there is a table. That table basically shows some of the emergencies happened during the experiment. And then below that, there is some data gathering of the autonomous driving experiment. And then they will conduct some analysis on this data gathered so as to improve the technology. And then there are 2 monitoring screens. These 2 screens basically shows the experiment real time. Usually, when people are conducting experiment outside, the monitoring center staff will stay here to monitor the experiment staff from here. And this is actually an all-round data gathering of the autonomous driving experiment and data analysis. Also, on the wall, there are our emergency plans and also sequence of operation. Every employee or every staff within the monitoring center should be very familiar with the emergency plan and the sequence of operation. And we will even get them to take some exams. And the reason we care so much about this emergency plan and the sequence of operation is to give a solid insurance or support to the experiment so as to really improve autonomous driving technology, because autonomous driving technology is really close to our daily life. So the establishment or development of autonomous driving experiment, emergency plan and sequence and operation and also technology support can really facilitate the development of autonomous driving so as to get the autonomous driving technology into our daily life as soon as possible. Later on, we are going to have an experience. We are going to experience the autonomous driving car. Let's see it in person. Now we are going to our next stop. This is a very special tour experience from China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. This is a sincerely rare opportunity. The starting point of autonomous driving tour is not close from here. So we are going to still take a car. Before we arrive there, let's answer the questions from the audience. After seeing so many autonomous driving technologies, how far is it from our daily life? Actually, a lot of the cars you've purchased have already equipped with level 1 or level 0 autonomous driving technology. However, a lot of you dare not to use it because you are not sure what kind of road condition can you use this autonomous driving technology. Yes, even if my car has ACC feature, I still dare not to use it. Yes, especially when you are driving on the highway, maybe you will still dare not to use ACC technology because you are not sure at what speed you can use ACC. And also, when you use ACC, you cannot switch lanes. People are still quite wary about this ACC feature. Therefore, we will test all these autonomous driving features and then upload the test result in our automotive engineering automobile indexed. Now we have just arrived, and this is the starting point of autonomous driving tour. Have they started the tour already? There are already two autonomous driving cars taking some of the citizens on a tour. I also received one question from the audience. In a certain driving scenario, when the autonomous driving feature is turned on, should an accident occur, who should take the blame? Usually, the regulation is like this. If the technology is at level 0, then every accident occurred should be taken care by the manufacturer. However, if the technology is above 0, is above level 2, then should an accident occur, the driver should take the blame. And if the autonomous driving, if the car is at human driving mode, then the driver should take the blame. Because firstly, we need to determine whether the car is in autonomous driving mode or not. And then if it is in autonomous driving mode, then whether the driver forces himself to control the car or not. Yes, I'd like to remind our audience, autonomous driving technology has different levels, just like our English level. There are CET4 and CET6. So at different technological level, the automation control of the car is different. For example, when the level is lower, then the driver should be more responsible of the total driving route. Yes, also, the manufacturer only purchased the sensor. So the supplier of the sensor should really be responsible to the safety of the sensor. Can we experience or can we start the tour now? Okay, it just left. We will wait for the next tour. You can see a lot of people are waiting in the line. We'll let them experience first. Today's activity has attracted a lot of citizens. They are all very interested to experience the tour of autonomous driving car. I'd also like to try and talk to the citizens who are still waiting. Hi. Can I ask you a few questions? Is it the first time for you to come here? Yes. How did you know that you can experience autonomous driving tour? I had a club membership. Did you experience autonomous driving before? Our company is also doing autonomous driving, so I'd like to observe what they're doing now. So you're an insider, yes. Can you tell us from a profession perspective? I'm still a basic learner. I'm not that professional. Because for autonomous driving, you have to consider the road condition and also some of the objective conditions. Because the experiment condition might be different from the actual condition when we are driving on the street. For example, in the experiment, the distance between the car and the obstacle might be still a little bit far. However, in the actual cases, the distance will be much shorter. And why are we here now? Because I want to know where we are with autonomous driving technology here. So you just enter this industry, yes. And you want to experience it yourself. Can we interview you? Why did you come here? I'm here for the international conference and was invited. I want to see the whole experiment process and also test drive this autonomous driving car. Did you try any autonomous driving car before? Yes, I tried Chongqing. What do you expect from here? I want to know the comfortness of the seater's interior comfortness and also the safety of this technology. Also, I'd like to see how they test these features. Now the car just came back. Can we get in? We have 2 people altogether, at least. We should probably still wait for a while. Since the total interview is just a 1-hour session, so our colleague might get in first. Dear audience, you are currently looking at the test drive of autonomous driving car from China Automotive Engineering Research Institute. This is the first time for CAERI to open the test drive to the public. And this test drive has attracted a lot of fans. Just now, we already went to the side of CAERI and looked at the experiment of autonomous driving features, and we see a lot of robots, including the rotational robot, steering wheel robot, and what really impressed me is the chassis robot that is actually a flat vehicle with autonomous driving technologies equipped. And autonomous driving technology and that kind of decoy vehicles has really given our engineer more choices or more options in testing the technology. Now the car just came back and we are about to get in. Now we just sit inside. Although this is still called autonomous driving test drive, there are still someone sitting in the driver's seat. The role of this staff is to ensure the safety of the tour. And this is the tour guide of this test drive tour. And this is the lady we just interviewed. She's an insider, but who just get into this industry. When the guests sit down, the car will start its autonomous driving mode. You can see the driver does not touch the steering wheel at all. The steering wheel is running by itself. Only when emergency occurred will the driver cut in and convert the autonomous driving mode into manual mode. How do you feel? Yeah, not bad. Well, for me, I think with the steering wheel rotating by itself, it's really amazing. And when there is traffic light in front of us, what would we do? There will be a demonstration. You will see it later. So the test drive tour has already considered about the scenario when there is traffic signal in front of us. You can see the road. It's just like a real road. And then we are about to take a turn. And when the road there is curves in the road, the car can autonomously recognize that. How? Firstly, depends on the radar and also the navigation system. Okay, now this is the red light. So when the car detects there is traffic signals in front of us, it will slow down automatically. And then it just detected the red light, so it stopped. And it noticed the light become green. How can the car detect all of these signals? Firstly, the car will receive signals of the status of the traffic light, and then the car can determine whether to stop or go. Now we are sitting inside this autonomous driving car and give you a live streaming of the test drive tour. The one who's sitting in the driver's seat is not the driver. He's just the one who, the QA tester. And he's going to ensure the safety of this tour. What kind of emergency is he going to ensure? Safeguard. For some emergencies, like when there is some speedy car cut in, and also during the whole experiment, there will always be someone sitting inside the car. And we are actually experiencing a higher level autonomous driving technology. Is above L2. Yes, ideally, it should be L3. We can directly see what is going to be like with the future autonomous driving technology. You can see the steering wheel will rotate by itself, and the car can detect traffic signals by itself, and also when it encounters some obstacles in front of it, it can automatically brake or stop. Yes, and for the safety perspective, it can stop the car when it's going to hit some obstacles. We just passed through several traffic signals, and we can see the car can detect the status of traffic signals very accurately. Do we need to preset, or can the car detect or recognize obstacles by itself, and also the ramp? Yes, it can detect the road condition by itself. Now we are passing through a very narrow road, and actually, in the real case, we will encounter narrow road a lot, with a lot of cars parking on both sides of the road. We adjust the setting based on the road condition. So the car will drive in accordance with the road lines. Now it stopped very stably because there is a traffic light. If we are using human eyes, we can see there is a traffic light very clearly, but how can the car detect the traffic light? Actually, the car is more responsive. Okay, there is a car parking. That's actually our second autonomous driving car, and that's also for the test drive tour. And we're about to reach the destination. The whole route is a circled one. Do we get off here? No, we can get off from another location. But we can stop here and observe how the car is going to park automatically. We just experienced a ride with this autonomous driving car in this campus. It's very stable, very steady, and it can detect obstacles and also the road conditions as well as the traffic light automatically. Now, the car is going to demonstrate how it's going to park automatically. Where is this car going? Which direction? There might be some miscommunication problem. The car is not parking actually, and the car is going to the other direction. How do you feel about it? I came from actually a far place, and I noticed that there are some smog problem in Chongqing, and this autonomous driving car can really detect the weather condition. Did you try autonomous driving car before? No. From our company, the autonomous driving level is not at this level yet. So our autonomous driving technology would still require someone sitting inside, would still require a driver sitting inside. How do you feel about this research? Yes. Looking toward the future, well, I really believe there will be some more and more technology. For example, the AI technology, autonomous driving technology. So for human beings, this can be both challenge and opportunities. Thank you. Because maybe that colleague just received some orders from the monitoring center, so he just left. Okay, now there is another test drive car coming through. Is that the same one? And sitting inside, there are some of our citizens. Okay, within this campus, you can see there are a lot of citizens who are here to experience the test drive. This is another test drive car. Now let's see whether it's going to park automatically or not. Dear audience, you are currently looking at live broadcasting of the autonomous driving car technologies in China Automotive Engineering Research Institute, and we just experienced a test drive tour. We experienced that autonomous driving test drive tour with some insider. At the current status, a lot of people might still be worried about the technology of autonomous driving, you might worry that the autonomous braking system is too stiff or too sudden. However, with my experience just now, I noticed that we don't have to worry about that aspect because the total experience is very stable, and the whole experience is also it's also beyond the ladies, the female we just experienced together with expectation. And we are going to wait here and wait for the next autonomous driving test drive car. Before that, I also welcome more questions or interaction from the audience. If you have any questions, I can always take your question to the expert of autonomous driving technology. However, due to the time limit, although I wanted to stay here and wait for the test drive car to see the auto parking feature. However, that's all for today's live streaming. And I'd like to remind you that there is a V2x technology from the engineer. And I specifically asked about V2x technology. This is actually a core technology of smart connected vehicles because it's going to receive signals from the vehicle and connect this signal with the traffic system in the infrastructure. So this kind of technology can replace the physical cameras, and so as to help the vehicle to detect obstacles or all of the road conditions automatically, because previously the autonomous driving or the driving experience might be hindered by the weather or by some restricted views. Now, with this technology in the future, when the driver or when the car is going to observe about the condition of the road and or the condition of the weather, the total driving experience can be highly improved, and we really hope that this technology can enter our daily life as soon as possible. That's all for today's live streaming. Thank you all.